Now at Shasta Lake Caverns on a Monday morning, either the 30th or the 1st of November. This is our tour boat. You can get a pretty good idea how far the water is down. About where those logs are, looks to me like where its normal level would be. That's a double span. Has I-5 on the top and the railroad on the bottom level.
See why I like my job? It is beautiful.
It's dry in here, though.
It's the time of year, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We've gone through about 4 months with and these voids that we actually stand in throughout the cave. They don't just suddenly occur like this. It's not like these voids were actually created when the mountain was uplifted. But they're actually created through a stage called the hollowing out stage. And that basically occurs as water's falling through the atmosphere and the soil outside. Collects carbon dioxide that forms a weak carbonic acid, which comes into very tiny cracks in the limestone. And it naturally hollows out these big cavities. That's why we call it the hollowing out stage. Then, because of various geologic reasons, earthquakes, things like this, the water tables naturally begin to drop. And once that water drains out of these big cavities, they become what's called a room or a chamber, depending on the size. Now what's neat is, after all that water's drained out, it actually begins to fill itself back in. All this rock that you see throughout the room, it's constantly growing. Literally reach up there, break one off and drink it soda through it. However, I don't recommend it. First of all, because it's punishable by up to a 5,000 calcium carbonate or calcite crystal. However, there's also a large amount of iron oxide or more specifically called helictites. They are a very, very unique formation. They're formed from water pressure, and we figure their inside diameter is around 1/100th of an inch, if that. They're very, very tiny inside. And they are relatively rare as well. They only occur in about 75% of cave systems, so pretty neat little formation.
What do you mean pressure?
Pressure. Basically, kind of think of it like this. There's some natural void back behind that wall. Mm-hmm. And as the water comes down, it builds up in there, and it'll actually build up water pressure.
Pushing the water back.
And forces the water out with pressure as opposed to gravity pulling it down. I have to look into that. Kind of looks different when you go to know it or not, but the crocodile hunter, he's only about 3 feet tall. He's hanging out over here off this ledge, dangling down. That lumpy white thing you see is his butt. He's got 2 short little legs, and his arm is reaching up to the very rare, very elusive, and very dangerous albino carrot, which is pure calcium. Listed in the phone book, and I get in trouble. Here to the right, we have our filling room. It had water up to about here.
In the 70s?
In the 70s, yes. Late 70s, early 80s. By 1985, though, the water had completely drained out of this room, so we decided to actually add it onto the tour and cut about 50 stairs off that big. Splash down onto these pools, which will leave behind mineral deposits on the walls. So the water table is lower and drop throughout the cave. Pretty impressive. We do know that the cave has had rising and dropping water levels over time. And then the water tables rose again, allowing that popcorn to form on that. So water tables do rise and drop throughout the cave. How you can see all kinds of things in our cave. November 11th of 1878. Lantern set in his finger. What's really incredible about this is we haven't touched it up at all. We've done absolutely nothing to preserve this. So it is neat that we get to see it today. Pretty spectacular. Wood. They send me to change a light.
So how do you get up there?
It's actually pretty easy. If you look over here, there's a tunnel that runs behind this. It's
Oh,
a
I
really
see.
short tunnel.
Uh-huh.
And then there's actually a foothold right there.
Oh, yeah.
We can climb right up from there.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's good.
Pretty easy, actually. Now, where else do you get to climb up 120 feet and have to worry about dying, but still love it, you know? It's almost like, you know, going bungee jumping. It's really just an incredible thing. And this room's called the cathedral room, not because of weddings or anything like that, but back in the olden days, we used to come up to these bays associated, and things turned around here. We started looking at it as an equal, but also because in 1895, George Silverthorne and a bunch of his buddies came up here. They wrote the name right next to Richardson's, which draws a lot of the attention.
Just come out of the cave. We're taking the 200 and odd steps back down to the visitor center here. This is the Shasta Dam. I hope to be able to take a tour in a few minutes. In the background is its namesake. Shasta Mountain. Well, I'm just off center a little bit, not unusual for me, of course, but down there is where the generators, or the turbines would be, the generators. And this is a peak dam. In other words, the generators come on according to the need. It also is holds water control from runoff, storms, and so forth. So the only time they ratchet this puppy up is when there's a real peak demand in San Francisco or whatever, like summertime during the day with air conditioners. And this is the top of the spillway, which they opened up a couple of years ago, I guess, to unload the dam because they had so much water. They had over 100% of their 118 inches, I think it was, excuse me. And I guess this is how you get down to that spillway area to work on that. Shows the upside stream. And there are, as a sheriff on either end of this bridge, and I don't think you can get access to it. They're working on it right now, but I don't think you can get access to this bridge for 9/11 concerns. And I think the irony is, from talking to some of the people here, the big concern is not that they'll damage the bridge, but that they would threaten to damage the dam, excuse me, not bridge, that they would threaten to do it, and that threat would imply a broader attack. But even if it weren't broader, just a simple attack on a major facility like this would be have a psychological effect and disrupt our lives, as of course 9/11 did, because it was a true disaster. The geometry of this dam is, I think, interesting. What I thought was interesting is that there's constant leakage through a dam wall, even though in the middle it's almost a football field and a half, and at the bottom it's over 800 and some odd feet in thickness, which is pretty giant. But they have a system that anticipates that seepage and that This is part of it, and the water that you see over the spillway is similar seepage. I don't know what all that stuff is. This is a photograph during construction. You can see their construction of the generator building being completed. 5 tubes, 2 on the left aren't yet complete. And it looks like the entire center section where the spillway is not yet complete, nor are the towers there complete. And this is the huge tower from which they radiated out the concrete that had to go to the full height ultimately of the present dam, of course.